Our world is undergoing the most powerful, the most exciting, the most dramatic change ever seen in the history of humanity. We have entered the age of AI and the age of Aquarius simultaneously, and that is no mistake. You know, we human beings, we needed to evolve, we needed to change, we needed to get in the driver's seat of our world so that we could ensure that the benefits of artificial intelligence and all the change going on around us benefit as many of us as possible. Hi, I'm spiritual leader Cynthia L. Elliott, also known as Shaman Isis, and I invite you to join us on our show where we interview incredible authors, change makers, entrepreneurs, tech gurus, all sorts of fabulous people who share their journey, their skills, their beliefs with us to inspire you and the world around you. Please join us for Soul Tech with Shaman Isis and get inspired. Well, hello, and welcome everybody. This is Cynthia L. Elliott, also known as Shaman Isis, and you have joined us for Soul Tech with Shaman Isis, formerly Glow Up with Shaman Isis. You know, we had to upgrade the name so it fit with everything that we were doing. If you are not already subscribed, I'm going to encourage you right up front to subscribe. The show is really taking off and we're hitting some epic numbers, so you want to be a part of the party. I am delighted to introduce you to today's guest, Dr. Shivani Gupta, who I know personally, and I'm so excited she finally agreed to come on the show. Welcome, Shivani.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Congratulations. You have something pretty epic unfolding, a book from Hay House that is hitting pretty soon. Can you just, before we get into all the good stuff about everything else, can you tell us about the book? Because I'm so excited for you.
For sure. I'm so excited. It's like a baby being born into the world to have a book like this. And I'm holding a real copy, which is just surreal to finally have received the first copies, author's copies. This book has been 2 years in the making, and it's really been over 20 years in the making. I studied Ayurveda, which we'll get into, and I realized this wisdom must be shared with the world. We must learn how to transform our health. And so after working with thousands of people on their health and their inflammation, I thought, I want to show everyone that we can have a different playbook when it comes to our health. We don't have to just follow what we're talking about in modern trends. We can look back to the ancient wisdom and pull it forward and modernize it in a way that transforms our health. So that's what the whole book is about. It's called The Inflammation Code, and it's about an anti-inflammatory lifestyle that we can build for true prevention, because we want to prevent disease, we want to win at our health, but sometimes we're going at it in ways that don't actually support our body and isn't customized to us. So that's what I get into.
Yeah, I remember when you and I first talked about this and you told me about the book, I was so excited because and some of my listeners have heard me talk about this before. I didn't really understand the power, the influence that inflammation had in your life experience until I started the healing journey and started to notice things. So I'm so excited about this conversation, particularly for our listeners who may not be aware. In regard to them, I would love for you to tell us, like, particularly people who aren't familiar with Ayurveda, how do you explain it in a way that feels like practical and relevant to modern people today?
For sure. So Ayurveda is an ancient system of health, healing, and medicine from India that's over 5,000 years old. So just like we have traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture that came out of China and East Asia, out of India, we had this thing called Ayurveda. And it's truly a natural lifestyle. It is root cause medicine. It is a way of life that you can live. Ayurveda means the science of life. So it's kind of like a playbook to life that shows us, okay, you could wake up and have some specific practices and rituals you do that are detoxing to yourself. You could go on with your day and time your day to the circadian clock. And so the 6 pillars of Ayurveda that I teach about that are in the book are, number 1, our elemental design, which Ayurveda originally called doshas. And I tried to take some of those Sanskrit words out of the equation so we'd all remember them. And so your elemental design,
I love that.
your elemental design is you understanding, are you more air, more fire, or more earth? And that really dictates your entire approach to your day. And so I kick off with, like, take the quiz, know your type, and then we'll customize everything that you do with your day. Then I teach about circadian clock. So circadian rhythm, which we're talking about a lot in health right now, the circadian clock came from Ayurveda. And so as we talk about biohacking and longevity, about modern tech approaches to win at circadian rhythm, Ayurveda teaches those original first principles around this topic. Then Ayurveda was really obsessed with gut health. and said gut health is the center of all health. And isn't it interesting, in modern day times, we're talking about gut microbiome, gut brain axis. Our gut microbiome is more important than anything else. It's got more organisms in it than we are as humans. It has more cells in there than us. And so Ayurveda said everything you do for the gut is what you are doing for your brain, your mood, your energy, your metabolism. And so I teach a whole big section on gut health, our diet, our self-care rituals. And then I end it on what I call the mindful medicine chest. Like, what are the spices and herbs and super spices we can use to transform our health? Because when I discovered Ayurveda for myself, I was in India. I was sick as a dog, couldn't understand why I was chronically sick and taking really high dose antibiotics. And as I sat in India, again, about to be hospitalized, I realized, there's this other system of medicine here, and maybe it has tools I need in it. And that's what put me on a quest around India to study Ayurveda. And I was like,
Mhm.
this thing is incredible. This is like the treasure chest we are all looking for our health. Why is it hidden away in India? Like, we need
Okay.
in Texas and in the United States where I'm from. And so that's why I brought it back and said, let me keep working to refine this and modernize this and show us how to fit it into our lives in slices of time. And that's really my
Mhm.
goal, to show us that in tiny slices of our day, we can create little shifts and we can win at our health. It doesn't have to be hard, but we totally lack awareness here in the West of
Mhm.
these
Oh, yeah.
practices, you know?
Yeah, I've written and actually talked pretty extensively about Western medicine and what a disaster it was, that it was really used by capitalists to make a lot of money via, prescription drugs, and the way that they basically kicked all the holistic practitioners and anybody who didn't fit into that mold. They closed down schools that taught people how to be doctors, particularly if they let in, people of different cultures and women, and then they monetized it, and it's a disaster. I mean, I just, in my family alone, I've had my mother and my sister both pass away from things that were perfectly diagnosable, but they couldn't be discovered because they were women. That's a whole other conversation.
That
and
is.
and and B, because of the way Western medicine is handled. And I think that if they had had the opportunity to experience an Eastern medicine doctor, or Ayurveda doctor, then they would have probably gotten to a solution tremendously faster. Having said that, you mentioned the elemental design, and I was a little bit curious about that. Like, how does it help women move, or women and men, because we have both in our audience, move beyond like a one size fits all wellness, and like really begin to understand their unique mind body nature?
For sure. So in Ayurveda, they taught us that there are five elements: air, ether, fire, water, and earth. And this is actually something that's going to be in my TED Talk, because I want the whole world to know their elemental design. I think it's truly the foundation of how we can understand ourselves and make the shifts we need. And so understanding that earth, nature, our whole planet is made of these five elements is the first step. And then once you understand that, you can understand that we are made of nature. We are made up of those same five elements. And Ayurveda teaches that we're all born with our own constitution. And so I could be more fire, you could be more earth, a friend of ours could be more air, but that dictates our day and how we should run it. And so I have everyone go to my website at drshivani.com, and they can take the quiz, and it'll give you back an answer. And its questions are based on your physical traits, mental, emotional traits, reactivity traits, things like that. And so once you take the quiz, it'll say, okay, well, Cynthia, you are so fiery. You're a fire type. And let's talk about how to go about your day.
Shivani, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I
Yeah.
can't hear you.
Uh-oh. My sound went out. Can you hear me now?
It's okay. I can actually cut this out, so I'm not
Okay.
worried. But just one of the reasons I don't do live streaming very often, because I've had these things like this happen. Your voice is gone.
Really?
Um,
Okay.
check
That's weird.
your
This is
plugs.
good. This is good. This is
You can hear me. Okay, she's gonna log back in. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. Is she there?
Please work. Please.
Okay, your volume is working, but I can't see you now.
Okay, let's get the
So
camera
turn
to
on
work.
just click on the camera.
Okay, I clicked it. Let's see. Let's click it again. I like mess with the plug and now it's choosing to be weird. That's not good.
It's okay. You know, the good thing is I've got my episode for the week is up. So if we end up having a
Nope.
challenge, we can just try to shoot later or something like that when whatever is going on. It is what it is, you know.
I have the whole day I have to be on camera, so it needs to work no matter what.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's strange. Like I can't see you at all. The screen is black. So when you
yeah,
go into the settings and you hit, let me see, just I'll do it with you. When you go into camera, is your
oh yeah, it's
camera?
other camera. Perfect. Okay. Okay. I like swear
Oh,
to
there
God.
you are. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Let me change my mic back to the
Like,
so
perfect.
I'll
Okay.
pick up.
You can ask the elemental design question again.
Okay, let's do that. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna actually say something to you before I forget. I wanted to note that okay, never mind. Let's just do that, and then I'll mention it afterwards because I want to bring up the TED Talk thing that you're doing a
Cool.
TED Talk.
Okay.
Although it does make it not evergreen.
Okay. Then yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, let's leave it evergreen. That
And
way,
I
it's
won't say
still
that
very
either then.
timely. Okay, excuse me. I love that you share the history of Ayurveda, which I'm going to work on being able to pronounce it as beautifully as you. I love that you share that. You know, I'm not a fan of Western medicine. I think it's caused more issues in our country, in America in particular, because it's been all about monetizing people's health and putting way too many people on way too many drugs that I don't think they should be taking. That's my personal opinion. And I love to see these influences making their way into America. You brought up elemental design, and I'm curious to hear a little bit more about elemental design. Like, how does it help people move beyond like a one size fits all wellness and really begin to kind of understand their mind, body, nature?
For sure. So, elemental design is one of the most central concepts out of Ayurveda. We want to know, are you more air, fire, or earth? And that first step in understanding what you are about and what makes you up is the key. And so, we teach that everyone is born with their constitution. It's a combination of your parents' natures that creates you. And so, for example, I'm born to two very fiery people. And so, I am born a fiery nature person, and then it's about how do you navigate with that. And so the five elements are air, ether, fire, water, and earth. And we have three main constitutions. And as I talk about them, you might think, oh, I'm two of those. Well, that's totally normal. When you take my quiz, you learn that you have a primary and a secondary constitution. And some people are actually balanced in all three, but that's kind of rare. And so when we're talking about these constitutions, you can take the quiz at my website, drshivani.com. And everyone who takes the quiz, you get an immediate answer, but you also get all the like prescriptions for what your type is. And the first one we call Vata, or here in the West, we pronounce it Vata. And a Vata person is air and ether. So this is someone who's lighter. This is someone who's maybe running a little more dry. You can imagine air and ether meaning space. Air has this property of movement. And so it's someone who's always in motion. It can be a beautiful breeze in the forest, or it could be a tornado if it's out of balance. And so, kind of knowing that about yourself is really powerful. And so, physically, a Vata person is taller or shorter than anyone in their demographic, small boned, petite, leaner. This is your person who has a hard time gaining weight. This is someone who can run through their whole day and not eat. They'll be like, I had my coffee, I had a green juice, I'm good. I forgot to eat today, which is unusual for the other types. This is someone who mentally, emotionally is always in motion because it's like air. There's never a stopping point. So they like a job where they don't sit down, where they're up on their feet and moving. This is your endurance runner, those people who can run the marathons. This is someone who's lighter. So they're more creative. They have more access to art and the ideas of the universe that they pull down for us. And then health wise, they can tend to suffer with things around dryness. So dry skin, dry hair, dry nails, constipation, dryness in the colon. They can tend to suffer with insomnia, really poor light disturbed sleep, and then anxiety because of that constant motion. And the mind never stops, so it can lead to this anxiety. And so that's a Vata person. And my homework for Vata is always everything that's grounding. So we want to put them on 3 square meals a day, grounding root vegetables, healthy fats, and really create a shift so that whatever they start, they complete. They feel more centered and grounded. They can let go of that overwhelm, anxiety feeling. And then we have a lot more homework we can give to a Vata to really ground their energy. And when you know someone's constitution, you know what their health issues typically are. So when someone tells me their health issues, I'm like, first of all, I know your constitution, but I also know the best way to help support you in fixing it because it's going to customize to that body type. Then the second one is called Pitta, or in the West, we call it Pitta. And so a Pitta person is someone who's fire with some water. So you can imagine the traits of fire: hot, red, inflamed. And so a Pitta person tends to be medium bodied. They can have a tendency towards early graying. They tend to have reddish hair, reddish skin. So anyone who's reddish, you're like, oh, that's a Pitta person. And this person tends to be passionate, driven, organized, tend to be a leader, very sharp in how they speak, very direct in how they speak, very perfectionist in their tendencies as well. And so a fire person can be a beautiful campfire. It can be a bonfire that brings people together. They tend to be charismatic, but it could also be a volcano. And so when a Pitta person's out of balance, they erupt like a volcano, and everyone around them is collateral damage. And so, and it's always funny because most podcast hosts are Pitta. So I'm always like,
I was about to say, I'm like,
I'm always looking at a Pitta and prescribing Pitta, and then I'm a Pitta and I just have to laugh. So I'm like, yeah, we basically get frustrated, angry, we erupt, we burn out. Like every fire word you can think of applies to the Pitta crew. And so we have to treat ourselves like a nuclear reactor: cool, calm, collected. We need those spiritual practices. We need the meditation, the breathing. We need the moving in nature to cool ourselves off. We have to eat summer foods. We have to hydrate. We can't just caffeinate all day and pound the caffeine, which is what we want to do. We have to like consciously hydrate with electrolytes. And so there's a specific set of homework for the Pittas, because Pittas can tend to be inflamed, heartburn, like everything is fire, skin coming out with hives and skin issues. That's fire and over fire in the gut. And so Pitta has that homework. And then
okay,
finally,
you just marked me. I'm definitely fire because but I will be really nice, and then eventually, once I push to a limit, I'm terrifying to be around.
Correct. We're nice up to our point, and then you met the volcano version of us that we don't want anyone to meet. You know.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you warn them, but they never listen. Oh, this is so fascinating. And what's the third one?
The third one is called Kapha, or in the West, we pronounce it Kapha. And a Kapha person is earth with water. And so this is that person who is sturdy, bigger boned. They're solid. They're of the earth. They can lift heavier. They tend to have round eyes, round face, maybe curly, oilier hair, oilier skin. They're more luscious. This is someone who is very one thing at a time, kind of like if an earth energy was going to move one step at a time, one word at a time. They're very deliberate in their actions. Their energy is very caretaker energy. So they care about everybody else first. This is that person who's always thinking about friends and family first and themselves last. In a woman, it can be this very grandma energy, like loving and feeding everyone. In a man, I've seen it as a very mountain energy. They're very solid, very strong. You're not going to budge them. Like there's no budging a Kapha. And a Kapha person can have a tendency towards congestion. That's that water element in them. Tendency towards a sluggish metabolism. Tendency towards very good sleep. They get the deep slumber, but they can tend towards congestion and being very like resistant to change. Like they don't want to move. And so we support Kapha by showing them move your energy in the morning, eat cooked small meals. And so nowadays we talk a lot about cold smoothies, ice protein shakes, icy cold salads, everything icy and cold. Kapha is not served by that because they need that digestive fire to be ignited and moved. And so that's why we say small cooked meals. And that's an easy way to shift them, move them in the morning. They're already going to get the deepest, best sleep out of all of us. And then show them how to like find a workout buddy or a buddy who wants to do new, different things to create more change in their lives. And so those are the 3 constitutions. And here's what's interesting. I'm a Pitta. By nature, I'm fiery. But I also, when I'm a mother, I'm holding some Kapha energy because I need to be caretaker energy and slow life down with the kids. But then my mind, because we're in the West and we're in modern day life in the world of AI and speed, my mind is very Vata at times. And so it's interesting to kind of study this and understand the nuance And then you can constantly calibrate to yourself. So if you have a day where you're like, gosh, my Vata mind is going 200 miles an hour, I'm so ADD distracted, I can't focus, you know exactly what to do to ground yourself, which will help support your mind being more grounded. Or physically, if you're inflamed, you're like, I just need cooling things right now. Cooling will undo the heat. So that's where Ayurveda is such a beautiful art and science, because it
Mhm.
shows you how to self navigate and recalibrate through your entire day based on how you're feeling.
It's so fascinating to hear that. You've described everybody I know. I think every accountant I know was the last one.
Right. It's funny the jobs and careers we choose based on our constitution.
Right, right. So true. So I talk a lot about. I used to be a big proponent of the hustle and flow culture. Like I did that for 25 years, and until I drove myself to burnout. So when people talk a lot about, say, peak performance, we hear a lot about getting up at 4 a.m., the hustle and all of that. How does Ayurveda and elemental design like redefine peak performance?
For sure. So we think of peak performance right now as what you described, like the 5 a.m. club and work all into the night. And we had a whole season around nootropics, like how do we stay up all night to work and code and do all these things? But I think there is this awareness of coming full circle and realizing circadian rhythm, nature's clock, the circadian clock is the key to having the health that we want, feeling the way we want, being more productive, honoring sleep, honoring the body's natural cycles. And so Ayurveda shows us certain body types need to be careful if they try to do that. You will burn out. You will lead to like anxiety and different health issues if you go too far too fast. So there's an
Mhm.
awareness of your type and how to navigate and leverage your type, which is very powerful. And then Ayurveda also teaches something that I wrote about in my book. I talked about a topic called mental inflammation. And that term came to me when I was writing this book because I wrote the whole book about how to win at inflammation. I thought, okay, I've got it. If they just apply this, we're going to win. But Ayurveda said if we're going to sit in a state of chronic stress 24/7, we're going to do such damage to the body. We're going to cause inflammation. Nowadays, we have terminology like dysregulation of the vagus nerve, and we're just so dysregulated and vagus nerve toning. These are just ideas that say your gut and your brain are connected. And if you are going to sit there in a total stress state 24/7, you will damage your gut and thus you're going to see the impact in the brain. You're going to be inflamed. And then what happens? Brain fog. We can't focus. We're not the same in terms of what we're trying to do. So that's where Ayurveda said you have the ability to build peak performance in a
Mhm.
completely different way. It can be built by honoring your circadian rhythm, leveraging your elemental design, managing mental inflammation with an awareness of the toll it takes on the body. And thus you have more energy and more ability to get more done. And so that's how I look at Ayurveda is how do we leverage Ayurveda to do more? Because we have an awareness of how to protect our health, our body, and what matters. So we're not going to lead to that burnout and crash that then leads us to not working and doing what we love.
Right. I'm glad you brought up burnout. So I think for those of you who've listened to me for any number of years in the different podcasts I've done, I've talked a lot about waking up 5 years ago, and I was 80 pounds overweight and absolutely miserable. I did not know about inflammation. I didn't understand its impact. I was buried in my work. And then one day I woke up and I was like, I literally could not function anymore. Went from type A person who was constantly busy working 12, 14 hours a day. That's all I ever did. Didn't go anywhere, didn't have any real friends unless they were work related. And then one day I woke up and I was so burnt out that I could not keep an appointment for 2 years. I couldn't remember the appointment, and then if it came up, I would forget about it 10 minutes beforehand, and I started to learn a lot about the body, and I went on I fasted for really my body just naturally did it. One day I just woke up and I couldn't eat. My body just didn't want it, and I think I went 30 days without eating and eating food. I was drinking water, and of course I'd lost a ton of the weight and immediately began to feel better, and that's when I started to learn about inflammation. So how does burnout like look to the different elemental design types?
It's a great question. So if you are of the elemental design called Vata and you start to on that path of burnout, the body is going to go straight towards constipation because it's stress on the gut. Insomnia, you're not going to be sleeping. anxiety, and those types of symptoms. And so those are your warning signs. What I find is nowadays we've got the warning signs. And I think even Oprah mentions this. She calls it like a feather. First, it's a feather, then it's like a truck hit you, and then finally you hit the brick wall. And I feel like in the West, what we do is we blow past the feather. We're like, yeah, I heard the alarm bells. I have no time for that. Okay, next
So
one, a
true.
truck hits you. And you're like, that hurt. That was not a good one, but you know what? I have no time for that. And then we wait until we go ramming into a brick wall at full throttle before we make changes. So if you are a Vata and you are feeling anxious, your gut is off and not working, your stomach is sending you signals, and you're not sleeping and you're anxious, that's your sign. Like, hey, everything has gone haywire. How am I going to start to walk this back? In Pittas, we are angry. I caught that myself this year. I was so angry at my team. And I was like, what's wrong with my company? I'm going to burn this thing to the ground. And I was like, that's a sign, honey, that your pitta is so overblown. If for the first time in your life, you're like, I can't do this anymore, that's burnout. How are you going to walk yourself out of that fire situation? Because pittas will always go all the way till the end before they start to take steps back out of it. And then Kapha, I would say burnout looks like really feeling overextended and stuck because a Kapha will just stop moving. They'll say, you know what, I just can't. I can't do any more. I can't do any of this. They can have a tendency towards having a low mood, maybe depression. They'll sleep a lot. Like that's their
Mhm.
sign that everything went a little too far and they need to come back to self-care, movement, and the things that move their energy in a positive way. And then finally feeling supported because they put everyone else first. So sometimes they have to learn how to put themselves first. But yeah, I mean, I think as a society, we are allowing mental inflammation, which is this chronic state of our mind being in overdrive, meet
Mhm.
our being off our circadian clock. We don't honor the circadian clocks. We're dysregulated already. We're not matching nature's rhythm. On top of it, we're inflamed. All of society is chronically inflamed right now just from
Mhm.
how we're eating and how we are living. And when you combine those things, what are you going to have? You're going to have a society that's burnt out. And what are we doing with our time? We're numbing out on social media. We
Mhm.
are going to the doctor saying, hey, can you undo all of this? And they're like, I can give you some pills, but I'm not your life coach. I can't like undo all the things that started that for you. And so
Yeah.
it is a little complex, but in Ayurveda, we go back to the basics. Sleep on time, wake up on time. Move in nature. Nature heals all things. Know your constitution and start eating right for your constitution and navigating your daily rhythm to your constitution, your elemental design. And then all of a sudden, things feel lighter, things feel better. The body is less inflamed, the mind is less inflamed, and we can move forward healthy and clear. And that's how we can unwind from that situation or that experience called burnout.
Yeah, I think one of the main issues with Western medicine is that it's not a holistic approach, and frankly, when somebody needs help, unless they have disposable income, which the vast majority of Americans don't have now because of the situation we find ourselves in, it's like we start to books become like a great way, podcasts become a great way for people to finally begin to discover. Um, which leads me to like the Soul Tech Foundation, which is the 501(c)(3) charity that I founded. We we focus on that the nexus of like soul, technology, consciousness, and the lifestyle practices, the holistic practices that will actually help a person live the best life that they can. And so it's one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on the show because the work that you're doing is such a powerful part of just those lifestyle practices that someone can take on. Um, so I'm curious, like, how does your work help people reconnect with inner intelligence and intuition, and also taking down their inflammation?
For sure. So, the book is exactly that. The book is a guidebook and it's a playbook on winning at your health. But also, the whole point of Ayurveda is to show us how to be more intuitive with our body, mind, and spirit. And I talk a lot about living this lifestyle based on rituals for ourselves. And a ritual can be anything. Like, my favorite ritual in life is called tea time is me time. I pause 5 times a day, have a cup of tea, and use it as an anchor moment. You can call it a mindful moment. You can call it a sacred pause, depending on what level of spirituality you want to get into and what level you're at in your life or moment of life. And so, if you took this as a mindful moment, you could also pause and ask yourself powerful questions like, how am I feeling today? What do I need for today to be better? What am I doing this week that doesn't work for me that I need to change? And my mind, my intuition will come through and say, you need to cancel on that person. You need to move that time. You can't even do something at 8 a.m. Why'd you say yes? You can't do that. Or say no. Just say no.
Yeah.
Everyone's a no. Like yesterday, I sat there, I canceled my entire rest of my week. I was like, I'm done. And I need a mental health break if I'm going to survive the next few weeks of what I'm doing in my business. And that's called us actually tuning into our intuition and doing what we actually need. And
Yeah.
so I think it's so important to give ourselves that space. For me, the ritual of tea time is me time does it. But I find that when we go to Western medicine, and it's interesting because I'm married to an all Western medicine family here in South Florida.
Of
And
course.
so I always like have to navigate that line. I hate on them in many ways and I love them. So it's funny. I think there's so many great doctors out there. And there's also a system that can only help us up to a point. So when
Yeah.
I go to Western medicine and I say, hey, my hip hurts, what I'm saying is I need your visuals and your diagnostics on what's happening. Unfortunately, as women, you're right, we are so gaslit. We oftentimes get a zero answer and we have to push and fight and find a new doctor and go a new way. And that's where the more expensive road has come about, which I love and I get frustrated with, called functional medicine. So I have to go to functional medicine. I have to say, no, I don't want to do, a mammogram every year from 40 to 90. That doesn't make sense to me. Can I do this differently? Or can I do a full body MRI? No one's giving me the answers I need on my body. And so I think we as women have to remember how strongly we have to advocate for our health if we want to get any results. And we sometimes have to get really creative. Like you said, we have to reach into integrative medicine, whether it's naturopathic, Ayurvedic, Chinese medicine, chiropractic, homeopathic. I love all of them. And I think
Yeah.
they all have a role in our health and different points of our health. But when we go to Western medicine, we're usually like, I have this laundry list of problems. Can you fix me? And they've got 7 minutes or less to deal with us. And so they're going to say, okay, well, I can solve for A, B, and C. The rest, you're on your own. Like, I don't know. And so that's where I've had to really kind of support people a lot over the last decade is when people come to me, it's usually a laundry list of issues. And I'll say, okay, I think we need to go to functional medicine for all of this. I can help you on lifestyle on this piece. I see where I can support you. And let me find you the best practitioners. And that's been the greatness of owning the supplement company I've had for the last 10 years. Is I've met thousands of doctors. So I now know who is good at what and how they can help us. And that's kind of how I navigate with people because we are living in a moment, like you said, that's really challenging. And oftentimes, if you go to the doctor, and I find this, if I go to the doctor and I'm like, hey, this is the problem, and I don't get the answer I need, I also don't have time to go fight again. And so then we fall kind of through the cracks when it comes to a lot of our health struggles. And so my whole point in the book was let me teach Ayurveda in every way I can that's approachable and doable by everyone. The book, it's easy. You buy a book or you download it on Audible. The entire Ayurvedic system I can teach you in a doable, bite-sized way is in the book. I have my own podcast, and on the podcast, I share all of this stuff. I go on YouTube, I teach it there. So I'm trying to teach Ayurveda everywhere I can. And then if people want to come to me for supplements, I have that solution too. But my goal is to show us for free. We can all build a lifestyle that's completely opposite to our current Western lifestyle's approach to our health. And that is the code and the key to winning at our health overall, is understanding how to intuitively tune in.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that women in particular, I think, have been trained into behaving in a particular way that is appealing and pleasing to a lot of other people. We're breaking away from that in many ways, but I think encouraging women to tap into their intuition is important because that's what keeps people continuing to search, particularly if they're getting gaslit.
True.
It's the knowing that you haven't got quite the answer yet, and knowing that what you're being told doesn't quite fit with what you know. And I think that would have been, if my mother and sister had been taught that, I think that would have helped tremendously for them to understand that they needed to keep going to find the answers and to create a program that really works for you. I'm excited, so I'm going to try to make this as evergreen as possible. Your book is coming out, and if you're hearing this after the book comes out, go check it out. It's incredible. It's an incredible book, incredibly helpful. You are launching that at TEDx Meisner Boulevard during our reception and the break. People get a chance to get copies of them signed. So if you haven't already gotten your tickets for TEDx Meisner Boulevard, go check it out. You just have to Google the phrase TEDx Meisner, Mizner, and you can find tickets. So if you're hearing this and it's after February 4th, you can go check out Shivani's video online. I'm sure she'll have it linked on her website. But tell me really quick about your talk.
For sure. I'm so excited. I have wanted to do a TEDx talk for over 5 years, and it's been something I've wished for. It's been on my vision board, and it's so beautiful that it came to be so serendipitously with you and here in my hometown of Boca Raton and surrounded by family and friends who I love. So my TEDx talk is about how Ayurveda's lifestyle of elemental design and mental inflammation is the key to us winning at our health in the long run. Because societally, I could talk about a lot of things. My whole PhD dissertation's on turmeric, so I do love talking on turmeric. But I thought long and hard about what is an idea worth sharing that would land, and all 8 billion of us on the planet could benefit from these core topics out of Ayurveda. That mental inflammation is causing a lot of our burnout and frustration and anger. And if we know our elemental design, we can navigate from a whole different place. So that's the whole TEDx. It's
I
already
love
written.
it. I love it. It's so exciting. If you didn't get a chance to hit the TEDx Meisner Boulevard, go check out Dr. Shivani Gupta's TEDx talk online. We are also, I have to mention this, I haven't even announced this on the podcast yet. October 28th in Florida. It doesn't matter where you live, you can come hang out. We're Shivani and I are part of a fabulous, amazing team of women who've come together as the executive committee for the Her Health Summit. It is all about women's health, and we are covering the full gamut with keynote speeches from amazing, everything from, Dr. Shivani Gupta to yoga influential yoga force, Judy Weaver. And we're talking about kindness from the fabulous Laura Waldorf-Reese. And we've got some incredible doctors, female doctors, who are coming in to cover all of those really, really important topics that affect women's health. So if you like to be a part of community and you'd like to be a part of a powerful network of women who are influencing the way that women's health is being addressed in this country and in our world, go check it out at soultechfoundation.org. You can learn more about it. I'm super excited about it. Aren't you?
I am so excited. It's going to be a great event. There's going to be so many fun vendors. I'm excited about the speakers. I'm excited about serving tea there, Ayurvedic teas. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, if you like tea, Shivani has got amazing teas. Oh my goodness. Not only are they beautiful, but they are absolutely divine and wonderful for you. So go check them out on her website. Last question for women listening who feel inflamed, exhausted, disconnected, burned out. I'm going to add that too, or burned out. How can elemental design be her doorway back to herself?
For sure. So many of us experience inflammation as those symptoms that you're talking about. Maybe our gut is off. Maybe it's brain fog, fatigue, don't have the energy we used to, can't focus or remember things the way we used to. And as we enter these seasons, maybe it's perimenopause, maybe it's menopause, maybe it's even before that, and we're struggling and not feeling the same. What most people don't realize, most people tell me is, I guess this is just aging. I guess this is just how it is now. And I always say, no, it's not aging. It's inflammation. That's inflammation.
I like that.
Inflammation is a root cause issue. It is a forest fire that's burning inside of all of us. There's a lot of things that cause inflammation. And you're saying I'm aging, but if you reduce the inflammation, you would see that these are just symptoms of the inflammation. And so that's why I wanted to teach everyone the Ayurveda lifestyle and how to live on our circadian clock, how to detox seasonally, how to use self-care rituals that detox us daily. These are all part of the Ayurveda lifestyle. And so then when we talk about elemental design, we can start to understand that, okay, yeah, I, Shivani, am a Pitta. I am all fire. And I like to run into my day at full throttle, give myself no breaks, and then crash at the end of the day. Well, that doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve me as I age, that's for sure. And so I've had to learn, how do you shift these practices? How do you do a few rituals in the morning? How do you eat a really healthy lunch? Like pause and eat your lunch. How do you eat dinner on time so you have 3 hours to digest it? How do you invest in really high quality sleep? Sleep is when we clear our inflammation and live according to that circadian clock. The Ayurveda circadian clock says that sleeping from 10 to 2 on the clock is when we will clear inflammation, clear the lymphatic system, the brain's lymphatic system as well, called the glymphatic system. And so a lot of these might sound like new words, but really it's just ancient wisdom. Ancient wisdom says, rise with the sun, set with the sun, honor nature's clock so that you can win at your health. And so in the book, I get deep into literally charts and daily schedules for each elemental design, like what you should eat in your day, when you should wake up. And once you try this lifestyle, the elemental design lifestyle, you can start to see those shifts happening. I have so many clients who say, my whole life has changed now. I can focus. I have more energy. I feel better in my body. Losing weight is not as hard. I wake up refreshed and energized. And that's my dream for all of us, is we should all have this incredible quality of life, incredible levels of joy, so that we can live a beautiful, intuitive, healthy life with more joy. I know that for my family, inflammation affected everyone significantly. And that level of suffering, that is not something that anyone else should deal with. And so the whole point of the book is, let's win at inflammation, but let's also win at our health and build a life of such deep, vibrant health that we feel good every single day.
I love that message. Congratulations, Shivani, on the inflammation code. You guys, and this is being put out by Hay House, which, if you know anything about the iconic Louise Hay, you know that Hay House is really the place that publishes the most influential books across the spiritual wellness, mental health world. So I'm so delighted for you, and I want everyone to go run out there and buy your book. So if they're going to buy the book, how can they get to it?
For sure. So my website is my name, shivanigupta.com, ShivanIGupta. And on there, you'll see the links to the book, to my podcast, to my teas, to my turmeric. Everything that I do is on that website.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. So to you guys who are listening, if you have not gone to my website, shamanisis.com, you can go there and check out my 3 books: Unleash the Empress, Memory Mansion, which tells my really rather wild life story, and A New American Dream, which talks about how to get America back on its feet through artificial intelligence. Go check those out. And also you can learn more about my new book and pre-order Soul Tech, The Art and Science of Higher Consciousness, which comes out this fall, which I'm very excited about. So go check all those out at shamanisis.com. And if you want to support the work of the Soul Tech Foundation, please visit soultechfoundation.org. We are bringing education and events to communities to help navigate the age of AI, everything from our AI literacy certification courses to well-being programs for kids and adults that help teach emotional and mental mastery, which we really need because we have a massive mental health crisis on the planet. And the only way to address it, I believe, is through spiritual practices. So go check it out at soultechfoundation.org and make a donation, please. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you've not already subscribed, what are you thinking? It's intelligent listening. Please subscribe. Thank you, Dr. Shivani Gupta. I loved it.
Thank you so
much. Bye, you
guys. Bye, everyone.
All right. Let me exit here. All right. So in recording. Okay, cool. It's going to take me a little bit to edit it. This will go up. Actually, it'll go up the day before the TED Talk.
Nice. February 3rd. That's my book published date.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you, Shivani.
All roads lead to that day.
When you mentioned to me one day the podcast agency that you use,
yes,
can you text me that, because I've been looking at some and I don't trust a lot of the ones I'm seeing. Like, they talk a big game, but I only want to work with people who actually do what they say they're going to do.
Sure. What I'll do, I'll connect you to 2 people. One is this girl, Ariel. Ariel is who introduced me to Pod Populi. You might love to meet Ariel because she opened a new place next to Meisner called Social Art Studio. And she's all about helping women have a space for their events, photo shoots, video shoots, all that kind of stuff. And then she is the one who originally put me with Pod Populi. We are about to renew for our 4th year now with Pod Populi. It's really inexpensive. Like they build a spreadsheet, they give you a Dropbox folder. For example, when I'm not recording right now for my podcast because we're good, but when I do, we take the Riverside file, put it in Dropbox in the spreadsheet. We're like, yep, this is the order, these are the titles, these are the descriptions, and they post it. And so we do that because we might forget to post. So it just keeps us consistent. We were thinking of taking it in-house recently, but I just worry about the consistency. I didn't want to be inconsistent.
Yeah, it's tough. Like even as an agency owner, that ends up being somebody's full-time job.
Exactly. And it's just why I pay for that. Like, we pay for them to handle that. And then my VA in the Philippines is who makes all the art. So when you see the podcast go live every Tuesday, she made the YouTube tile, the Spotify tile, the social media all tiles, and she's posting it everywhere. And then we do one email blast per podcast.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm off to go teach restorative yoga. So I have fun today, and I'll let you know about the episode. And of course, we'll be talking because the event is 2 weeks from today.
I know. Do you need anything else? I know you posted about volunteers.
I think I'm good. I've got a fabulous crew who looks like they're going to shoot from potentially 3 angles, not just 2. And then we've got the red carpet crew. So we're good. I'll let you know if something comes up.
Cool. Okay. Thank you. Awesome.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye, sweetie.
All right. Bye.